have an active shooter. We have an active shooter inside the warehouse.
Welcome to Active Shooter, a podcast that covers the whys, the hows, and the aftermath of active shooter and mass casualty events.
They have an active shooter in the building. A second call says they are being attacked.
I've been shot. 1692 means we got shots fired at 4:15 a.m. Route 291. Sounded like an automatic firearm.
Active shooter, reports of an active shooter,
mass casualty incidents.
Thank you for listening.
You are listening to Active Shooter, a podcast that may contain adult themes, explicit language, and graphic depictions of violence. Portions of this show may be traumatic for those under 18. Listener discretion is advised.
Another community is waking up in shock after a deadly school shooting. This morning, investigators in Southwest Oregon are trying to learn why it happened. Thursday's rampage at Umpqua Community College left 10 people dead and 7 wounded. One of the dead is the gunman who was killed during a shootout with police. Survivors and their families say the killer asked people if they were Christians.
It was October 1st, 2015, in Roseburg, Oregon, when 18-year-old Quinn Cooper was sitting in his English and writing class at Umpqua Community College. Quinn was in his 4th day of college and was listening intently to Professor Lawrence Levine instruct his lesson for the day. He was 35 minutes into class when one of his classmates entered. Quinn noticed that the classmate was wearing all black and had on a bulletproof vest. He also had something in his hand. It was a gun. Active Shooter, the podcast, is a High Five Holly production, and I'm your host, JT. If you've listened to our prior episodes, you know that the Active Shooter podcast team has taken the No Notoriety pledge, and we will not be sharing the real name of the shooters that we cover. We will be giving the shooters a pseudonym and refer to them by that name throughout the episode. This will help in clearing up any confusion in the story, while remaining true to our pledge and not naming the shooter by their actual name. In today's episode, we will be referring to the shooter as Roger. Every student went silent when 26-year-old Roger walked into the classroom holding a gun. Professor Levine stopped teaching. Roger walked over to Matthew Downing, another student, and handed him an envelope. Roger told Matthew he wasn't going to kill him because he needed Matthew to give the envelope to the police. Investigators would later find out that the envelope contained a flash drive with a 6-page manifesto, much like the shooter in the Isla Vista shootings in episode 13. Roger referred to Matthew as the lucky one, as his life would be spared.
He said, "The kid in the glasses, get up. I need you to do me a favor. Today's your lucky day." And hands him this, business envelope because he wasn't going to be able to do that after he was done killing the rest of us, and he said he was going to kill himself.
After giving the envelope to Matthew, Roger ordered all of the students to lay on the ground, on their stomachs.
I could hear everyone breathing hard and freaking out and crying, and he asked everyone to move to the center of the classroom. So we all kind of just army crawled to the center.
He shot Professor Levine first at point-blank range. He then focused his attention on the students lying on the ground. He was asking the students what religion they were, and whenever a student answered that they were a Christian, he would tell them, Good, because you're going to meet God now. And then he would pull the trigger.
They would stand up and he said, good, because you're a Christian, you're going to see God in just about 1 second. And then he shot and killed them.
Serena Dawn Moore was in her wheelchair when Roger told everyone to lay down, but she complied and got out of her wheelchair. Her service dog laid right next to her, never leaving her side. Roger ordered Serena to get back into her wheelchair. She complied with his orders and, as soon as she sat up, Roger shot her, killing her.
He sounded really deranged because he said that he had been waiting to do that for a really long time, and he laughed after he shot the teacher.
There was at least one student that risked his life to save others. Chris Mintz was a 30-year-old U.S. Army veteran who was in a nearby classroom when he heard the shots. He ran towards, not away from the shooter, and alerted others along the way that there was an active shooter and to hide or get down. Roger saw Chris and immediately began shooting at him.
He ran to the library and pulled all the alarms, and he was telling people to run, grabbing people, telling them, you just have to go. He actually ran back towards the building where the shooting was, and he ran back into the building.
Chris used himself as a human shield to protect his fellow classmates. After Chris had been shot with the first bullet, he immediately tried to reason with the shooter, telling him that it was his son's 6th birthday, and he wanted to be able to go home to his family.
Chris is screaming, it's my son's birthday, come on, dude, come on. And then you hear rapid fire again, and he shot Chris.
Having no sympathy for Chris and his story, Roger shot him an additional 4 times. Chris was shot 5 times total. He was shot in each leg, in the abdomen, shoulder blade, and finger.
Tries to block the door to keep the gunman from coming in, gets shot 3 times, hits the floor, gets shot 2 more times.
He's going to have to learn to walk again, but he walked away with his life.
There is no telling how many lives Chris saved due to his heroic actions in alerting his classmates about the shooter. Meanwhile, students and staff were responding to the sound of bullets by going into lockdown and calling 911. Despite the school's best efforts, some students on campus didn't hear the shots and went about their days. Other students were laying on the floor playing dead, in hopes that their life would be spared.
183 to back, copy active shooter, UCC 1140 Umpqua College Road. We have a report of 1 person shot, UCC 1140 Umpqua College Road, an active shooter. The UCC, this is going to be the Snyder Hall. Somebody is outside one of the doors, shooting through the door. There is a female in the computer lab. We do have 1 female that has been shot at this time.
1174 medical aid. This is for an active shooter at UCC. 1174 medical aid. We have a report of 1 person shot. UCC 1140 Umpqua College Road, an active shooter.
Exchanging shots with him. He's in a classroom on it's going to be the southeast side of Hall. 30 Roseburg 17, unconfirmed report that he's got a long gun.
Copy Roseburg 17, unconfirmed report. He has a long gun, 1045.
Located next to the library, there are about 35 people in the hall piled in. The campus center is on lockdown. 183 was turning onto College Road, and looks like they're going to shut down the road.
There were 2 plainclothes detectives nearby when they heard calls over the radios referencing an active shooter at the Umpqua Community College.
It was very chaotic. We had a lot of students that were running from the building. We had rooms that were in lockdown. It was a very chaotic scene.
Because the detectives were close, they decided to respond to the scene. Neither detective had a bulletproof vest on, and only had their service weapons, small handguns, with them. The 2 officers risked their lives as they entered the school. Roger had seen the detectives and started exchanging gunfire with them. The exchange lasted 2 minutes when one of the officers made contact with Roger, shooting him in the right hip.
We do know that we have at least 2 heroic officers who responded into the building within minutes and exchanged gunfire with the suspect.
The shooter went back inside the classroom, put the gun to his head, and pulled the trigger one last time.
Copy. Code 4, suspect is down.
8 students and 1 professor lost their lives at the hands of Roger. 9 people in all.
Being locked in there and not knowing if my friends were okay, I, of course, was bawling my eyes out.
Lucero Alcaraz was 19 years old and was studying to be a pediatric nurse. She had graduated from Roseburg High School in 2015 and was a UCC scholar for the 2015-16 school year, which allocated scholarship money. Lucero was very artistic and loved to draw. She had 6 siblings, 5 sisters and 1 brother. Her siblings said that she was always the responsible one. Trevin Taylor Anspach was 20 years old and was nicknamed Trev. He was from Sutherland, Oregon, located just north of Roseburg. In 2014, he graduated from Sutherland High School. Trev had worked for 1 summer at Roseburg Forest Products after graduation. His dad was a local firefighter, and his parents described him as the perfect son. Trev was 6 foot 4 inches and played basketball for the UCC Riverhawks. Rebecca Ann Carn was 18 years old and had dreams of becoming a dental assistant. She was loving, compassionate, and genuine. She enjoyed doing anything outdoors, including hunting, camping, and riding ATVs through the mountains. She played softball all 4 years of high school and was excited about the job she recently started. Quinn Glenn Cooper was 18 years old. As mentioned at the beginning of this episode, he was only on his 4th day of college. He had graduated from high school that June prior. Quinn was funny, sweet, compassionate, and very loving. He was joined at the hip to his older brother. They enjoyed playing video games together. Quinn enjoyed martial arts, voice acting, and dancing. Kim Saltmarsh Dietz was 59 years old and was so proud of the fact that she had decided to take college courses with her daughter, Shannon. Shannon was also a student at UCC, but was unharmed in the attack. Shannon was Kim's whole world, and her life revolved around her daughter. Kim and her husband Eric were caretakers of the Pyrenees Vineyard in Myrtle Creek. Kim was born in the United Kingdom, just north of London. She loved all animals and had an ability to calm and tame those deemed wild. Lucas Eibel was 18 years old and the youngest of his quadruplet brothers and sister. He studied chemistry and was also a UCC scholar who received scholarship money. Lucas was part of the Future Farmers of America. He enjoyed volunteering and did so at the Wildlife Safari Animal Park, as well as the local animal shelter. He was an outstanding soccer player and enjoyed anything and everything outdoors, including hiking, skiing, and playing catch. Jason Dale Johnson was 34 years old and had dreams of becoming an EMT. Born in Hawaii, Jason would later move to Santa Maria, California, where he would grow up. He fought addiction his entire life and was proud to say he was on the right path and proud of his Christianity. Jason had a great sense of humor and enjoyed spending time with his young nephew, Liam. The professor killed, Lawrence Levine, was 67 years old and an assistant professor of English. He grew up in Beverly Hills, California, and later moved to Glen, Oregon. He loved fly fishing and lived in a cabin on the Umpqua River. Lawrence loved music, especially the blues. Not only was he a great English professor, he was also a very talented writer and had written many unpublished novels. Serena Dawn Moore was a 44-year-old woman from Myrtle Creek. She had 3 sons and had a passion for animals. Serena was in her 3rd semester of college studying business. She was a member of Grants Pass Seventh-day Adventist Church and always saw the good in people. Serena's goal was to start a business that brought animals and disadvantaged people together.